During and after Bibi Netanyahu's address to Congress, anarchist jihadis burned American flags, raised the Palestinian flags, and chanted "Death to America, death to Israel," while wearing Hamas regalia. Sad day for Washington, D.C. and for America, and Claire Lopez was there in person. Claire Lopez, you were in D.C. for the anarchy in the streets. I'm sure you didn't expect it to be as graphic as it was. And in particular, I want to show you a video that I find despicable as an American.
Burn that shit! Burn that shit! Burn that shit! Allah! Burn that shit! Burn that shit! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allah!
You can hear the chants Allah Akbar along with burn that SHIT. These are not peaceful protesters, these are anarchists. What do you make of this?
Well, these are jihadis. And I have to say that during the rest of the day that preceded this final assault against the American flags at Union Station, again, which took place later in the afternoon, I think it was 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. Before that, I did not hear ever, in hours of being downtown yesterday, did not hear a single chant of Allahu Akbar, not one. I heard lots of free Palestine, wherever that is. And when we asked people, they had no idea where it was. It gives you an idea of but this is what they were, you ask a young person this question and they truly have no idea. They've never been asked the question before, I guess. But I did not hear any of the Allahu Akbar chants, and I also did not see any desecration of an American flag before Union Station. And again, I think that crowd that went there to Union Station at the end of the day of protest, when many of the other thousands, I mean, maybe there were 10,000 possible of the protesters, as well as an awful lot of the security forces, the police, the sheriff's departments, and so forth. I mean, and they were decked out in full riot gear, including some of them with gas masks on. They also were leaving the area, walking down the street, walking away. I think this group was unexpected, and what they did was unexpected. They shouldn't have lost track of that many protesters draped out in keffiyehs, no. But I think that may have been a surprise to the security forces, but despicable in every way. And obviously these are jihadis, as opposed to earlier in the day when I said that the people we saw mostly reminded me of Woodstock era hippies.
These weren't the hippies. These were
no, absolutely not. Did not see that kind of group, people, or what the despicable acts that they did burning the American flag. But maybe this is the place to talk about the Speaker of the House and what followed, huh?
Yes, please. I was greatly enamored with what Speaker Johnson did. Why don't you tell our audience what happened after the desecration of the flags?
Well, I would preface this by saying that first, I think a great deal of credit must go to Speaker Mike Johnson, because those preparations for security around the Capitol building that prevented anyone, including, people like me, from getting anywhere near the Capitol building, and the fact that they were so aware of what the groups of protesters were doing, where they planned to go next, and so forth, so well aware of that they actually had moving barricades. They moved them as they understood where the crowd was going to go next, to block them, channel them, and even, as I said earlier, to corral them. So much credit to Speaker Johnson for coordinating all of that security during the day, many hours a very effective and professional security enforcement in the Capitol. But when they went to the Union Station and tore down the flag, that was disgusting. I heard from a block away, which is where I was standing, the explosion of 3, what it sounded like stun grenades, and many vehicles go tearing up, sirens blaring and the lights flashing in that direction. But what happened later is what you're asking about, and that is after darkness began to fall, actually, Speaker Johnson and perhaps 10 or a dozen maybe members of Congress, and I did not identify them all. There's video of this, a little bit dark, but they went up to Union Station together and they brought down the ugly black and red and white flag that the jihadis had put up there in front of Union Station, brought those down, or I think maybe just one, not sure, 1 or 3, but brought it down. They did not burn it. Maybe it should have been burned, but they didn't. And then they raised the American flag up in the center flagpole in its place. And then they all stood there, hands over hearts, and recited the Pledge of Allegiance. And that was a moment. That was a moment that needs to be replayed and replayed everywhere, that all Americans can see that and take pride in that. But that's our Speaker of the House right now, Representative Mike Johnson.
Well said, and thank you for witnessing for us and for telling the story.